Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Ted, hanging out with the crew.
I'm Nate.
I'm Dave.
I'm Ryan.
And today we're going to do a monster BFF, the Pixie and the Mimic.
Highway Robbers, we're going to title this one.
But before we jump into that one, why don't you head down to the description below, click the link for the Nerdy newsletter. You'll get great stuff delivered to your inbox, even find ways to game with Nerdarchy. So,
Highway Robbers. Sounds like robbing you of your life.
So, Dave, you came up with this idea. I think it's fantastic. Why don't you tell everyone how the Mimic and the Pixie work together?
Okay, so I was stretching my brain a little bit, trying to figure out an interesting combination of monsters to use that wouldn't normally find together. And then I'm flipping through the book and I'm like, I want to use a Mimic. I use the Mimic.
Mimic is always a good call.
But what do you put with a Mimic and how do you make it interesting, right? So that part was actually kind of tough to come up with the companion monster. So I'm like, I got struck with this idea of a Mimic turning into a stump, and and based off of something actually African tribesmen would do when they wanted to seek out water and didn't know where to go. They would put food in a stump and in a hole, or they might even create the hole, and it's large enough for a monkey to reach in and grab something, but they can't pull their hand out with a closed fist. So they would get stuck, and then they would run up and they would put a leash on the monkey and they'd stake it out in the sun after giving it salt, and they'd leave it there for a while, and then they would free it, and then the monkey will go and run off and take you to the water, right? So that was the basis.
Fucked up.
Right, so that was the basis for the stump trap. So, but then I'm like, well, how do I get the players to reach into my Mimic? Right, and I'm like, well, there's got to be something to entice them. So kind of my idea was like, okay, well, what if there was a hollow in it and there was an illusion of something in there for them to grab? So I'm like, so I just need someone that can create an illusion. So technically anyone that can create an illusion would work, but I thought a Pixie would be fun.
Because the Pixie would find this whole situation hilarious.
Yeah, so, and I just thought the idea of, like, so in my mind, I've got this Pixie decked out like a swashbuckler. I stole the idea a little
Miniature
bit.
rapier,
Yeah, a little bit. I stole this idea from Oliver DeBarrow's one of R.A.'s books, the Spear Wielders trilogy. Was that the one?
No, Crimson Shadow. Yeah,
Crimson Shadow. Yeah. So I just thought it'd be hilarious for him to be decked out like a swashbuckler and basically holding people ransom, like, hey, I'm not going to let you go unless you leave us your coin and your food, because he needs the food to feed the Mimic, and he has actually no use for the coin. Yeah. He just knows that it's valuable to the people, so he wants to take it.
Yeah,
and he's decided to take on this role of highway robber because it amuses him.
Yeah. It's like a Peter Pan sort of playing dress-up thing. So do Mimics speak Common? Do they get a language?
They do not get a language, but they have an intelligence of 5, so they are intelligent.
So the Pixie could communicate.
Just, as we always do, where is the Mimic located?
Yes. You can find the Mimic on page 220 of your monster manual.
Although, if your book is in fact a Mimic, it's just going to eat you. So
pretty much.
Yeah. And you got 253 in your monster manual for the Pixie.
So I figured the Pixie has dancing lights at will, right?
No, they got Druidcraft at will. Each day they can do dancing lights once.
Okay, so once a day.
But still, it's sparkle, so they can do one robbery a day.
Yeah.
But,
so they can put a torch or something in the
or a plain dagger and make it look like it glows.
Yeah. Or they could just plant something in there as well. And then they have a couple other abilities that are useful too, like polymorph.
They got polymorph. They got confusion. They have entangle, phantasmal force. All of these things can be useful as a highway robbery type.
So
stuff.
so I was thinking they can use a lot of this stuff like to intimidate a group of people. Like, so they capture the one with the Mimic, and then maybe they polymorph somebody else, and they cause confusion on someone else. They do these things that's like really sow dissension amongst the group. Be like, hey, I can undo all this, and all you have to do is give us the goods.
So I'm almost saying too, like you could have like this band of like atypical Fey bandits type of thing, like out in the woods. So like maybe it's like satyrs and like this Pixie and Mimic, and like so you have like all these weird sort of anomalous things, and like And it's like really just like a Peter Pan, like them playing Bandit. Like it's just a game to them that like sometimes other people get hurt. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you could absolutely do that. That sounds more like a terrible terrain. Now.
We could totally do a terrible terrain. Maybe the Fey Haunt Forest. Yeah.
Yeah, or the Fey Bandit Camp.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they could take up residence there, and it's called Fey Haunt because like weird stuff tends to happen, and you end up losing your coin, and maybe your firstborn child.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But
Depends on what kind of things you agree
overrated.
to.
Yeah. That's true. They could try to get black people into like contracts to get out of the situation.
So okay, that's a different video that we're not talking about right now.
No.
So the Mimic and the Pixie. So the Pixie is not very much of a combatant. Now, the good thing about the Pixie is that they are invisible all the time.
They've got
really
superior,
good
superior,
not
superior
being
invisibility is going to really work well. They have a fly speed, so unless you've got someone who's got the ability to see invisibility, you're not going to hear them. You're not going to see them unless it wants to be heard or seen. So that's going to be incredibly useful. But you get someone who has an inclination of where they're doing or where they are, and they've got an area of effect. That's going to put the Pixie down.
Yeah, you're going to pop the Pixie really quick. And what is the CR on the Pixie?
Pixie's only a quarter.
So, and our Mimic is a 2.
So is that 200?
I believe it is 200.
So you got 250 if you go with just the base one of each. As Ryan's saying, you could definitely, pop a few extra Pixies in there, to really be able to.
I'm sorry, 450 is the
Okay.
XP budget.
All right, so 500. My apologies. If you really feel like you need to sow more confusion, you could definitely add a couple more Pixies without it getting, too crazy, because they're not really doing much in the way of.
Does Pixie
damage.
even have any actual attacks
No.
itself? No.
No.
Yeah.
No, basically they're Pixies are more of a hindrance and nuisance
Right.
than any kind of a real
Although,
threat.
shoot, they have a +5 to their deck, so you give them like a little mini rapier, and they're doing 6 points of damage per shot. Like they probably don't. It's not a smart play for the Pixie, but it would be kind of funny.
So there is that, but I really see this encounter less as a combat encounter, more of a role playing encounter.
It'd be kind of funny and mess with the party-ish.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they could just beat the crap out of the Mimic, and either the Pixie will go away or they can locate the Pixie and murder it.
Yeah.
The Pixie does have Droidcraft, so I could use that to kind of mess with the party and do things. What are the other ones again?
You got Druidcraft at will, and then once each day, Confusion, Dancing Lights, Detect Good and Evil, Detect Thoughts, Dispel Magic, Entangle, Fly, Phantasmal Force, Polymorph, and Sleep.
So the cool thing too is with the Detect Thoughts, they can like figure out, like it kind of scope out the party beforehand and. Either use that knowledge to plant something in the stump that would be specific to somebody in the group.
Mm-hmm. Like if they're looking for a quest item,
yeah,
it's supposed to be just somewhere out in the forest.
Or they can use it to find out what they actually have. In order to, so when they're making their demands, they'll be like very specific.
Yeah. It's in your back pocket. You have this gold-plated dagger with a swan on it. I really want that.
That and the blueberry pie.
Yeah, and the blueberry pie.
Yeah.
Give me the damn blueberry pie. Yeah.
There really is no blueberry pie. Then he can't have his hand back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys, you let us know in the comments below. What do you think of this combination, Pixie Mimic? Would you use this? Would you use this in what?
Mixie, Mimic and Pixie,
Mixie. Would you use that combo in your game? Let us know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over on Instagram.
You can check out funny memes on Facebook.
You also read over the articles over at nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.